People ask me, why are you a geography education professor? Well, of course, that's because I love the subject. A long time ago, when I was still a child, I've always dreamt about what are the things that people do when they go into tombs, when they dig up the past. Yes, my first ambition was to be an archaeologist. I would always go to the library after school to take out the atlases, to go through the encyclopedias. I remember distinctly that I wanted to find out about what's in Egypt. That's when my interest for the subject started. As I dug deeper into understanding what this means, and no pun intended, I realized that I have this passion and this love for understanding things about the environment, about nature, about society. Geography isn't just about names on maps, capital cities, or country. I mean, it's a lot more. It's a study of people, human beings, and their environment. And it's quite different from the other branches of science that you might have heard of. I think the key differentiating factor is in many of these earth sciences and social sciences, they study the phenomenon. So take, for example, in meteorology, you'll be studying the physical processes of how a cloud forms or how rain forms. But geography is interested not just in that, but also its interaction with us human beings. So what does a heavy storm mean for human beings? How does it affect our day-to-day activities? And for a topic like climate change that is so high on people's agenda and of such great concern, geographers with these perspectives really find that they are in a good position to understand this phenomenon. So some people might ask, is climate change even real? There's a lot of data out there on the media and on social media, and we try to make sense of it. Is it really happening? Scientists have shown that the Earth's average temperature has risen by 1 degree Celsius over the last 160 years. We've also seen a rise in sea level of about 20 to 30 centimeters. On the average, it may not seem like much. But think about the extremes. That 10-degree temperature in summer could mean a heat wave. And that drop in the temperature during winter could mean an extended winter with blizzards and heavy snowfall that could block out traffic and it could stop someone from traveling during that heavy snowstorm. The other example is the 20 centimeter increase in sea level. If we compound that with high tides, and we compound that with a heavy rainstorm event, what you're going to get would be a few meters increase in water levels. And that's going to create a lot of problems for us. Climate change is insidious in that it is happening even as we speak. It doesn't happen overnight. It happens slowly. And by the time we look back at what has happened, we compute the averages and discover, hey, look, temperature has gone up by 1 degree. It's too late. So the ecosystem is actually really fragile. It's not just human beings that will be affected. What we will see downstream when these changes happen to our climate system will also be perturbations or disturbances to the whole ecosystem. So you may start seeing loss of biodiversity and loss of natural habitat. So what's causing this global warming that is shifting our climate patterns? A lot of people are very quick to point out that it's due to the greenhouse effect, because that's what we all learned when we were in school. Well, I think that we need to understand this notion, this concept a little bit more. The Earth, it's really a small entity within the whole solar system. Arguably, you could have some energy seeping from the interior of the Earth, but more than 99% of the energy that we get that drives our weather system comes from the sun. The energy that comes as visible light and some ultraviolet rays really get through the atmosphere and it heats up the Earth. And the Earth itself then in turn gets heated up. And this heat is then slowly released back to the atmosphere. This heat that is released then gets trapped by what we call greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide, water vapor. This is a natural phenomenon without which the Earth would be uninhabitable. Our temperatures will be some 15 to 18 degrees cooler than it is, and it may not support life as we know it. If you could think through this experiment with me. Now, if you've got a stove at home and you turn it on, now you turn it off after a while and you put your hand over it, you'll be able to feel the warmth coming from the stove. That's because the element on the stove has been heated up and it's now re-radiating or giving out the heat that it has absorbed. And that's exactly what the Earth is doing. The sun heats it up and then it's giving out the energy that it has absorbed. And that's what's being trapped by greenhouse gases. The problem comes when you get too much greenhouse gases and an increasing number of types of greenhouse gases. Carbon dioxide, for example, is also given out when you clear land, when you have deforestation. What this does is it exposes the soil to oxidation. Carbon material gets oxidized and it becomes carbon dioxide. By and large, human activity increases the type and the amount of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. This causes the greenhouse effect that we consider natural to be enhanced. So how much has carbon dioxide increased since, industrial times? We know that industrialization started about 160, 180 years ago with the invention of the steam engine. There has been a lot more fossil fuel being burned since because it's been fueling a lot of the economic activities that we know today. This goes into production, this goes into transportation, and so on and so forth. The levels of carbon dioxide has risen tremendously over the last 1.5 century. So if you look at a graph that depicts the temperature increase over this period, you would also see a similar trend. And that is the growth in carbon dioxide emissions on Earth has been exponential. And the temperature increase has also been keeping in step. So when did carbon dioxide become a problem, if it has been around with us for such a long time? Well, with development, it will be inevitable that we will produce even more carbon dioxide. But it's not inevitable that we need to produce it at the rate that we're producing now. There are many alternatives, of course. We could look to technological solutions like using alternative sources of energy. But there are also other things that we can do at an individual level. So we don't have to do something earth-shattering. I think small things that we can do in our own lives can be very meaningful. From something as simple as not buying that bottle of distilled water or spring water, from something as simple as taking fewer car trips, to go to the supermarket, for instance. I think these are the things that are empowering, and it will help you do what we all want for our environment.